No. You deal with it. Look, I'm not coming back to the office. Look, I promised Lily we'd celebrate our 7th month anniversary together. She's a chick. You know how it is. Dude, she's not gonna understand. Look, it's after 10. I'm already late. She's gonna be pissed at me. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't call me. Hey, honey, I'm home. You ready to party with the Parkster? Big guy has been aching for you all day.
In New York City, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. These are their stories.
Hey guys, welcome to Munch My Benson. My name's Adam Schwitters. I am coming to you from Galveston, Texas, where I'm only going to be living for just a limited time. We're almost ready to move to New York, and it's been consuming every waking moment that is not consumed by a very active 1-year-old child. How's it going in the North Country, Josh?
It's going. Went down to Stillwater, hung out in the on the river, or by the river, next to the river, not like in a boat.
Yeah.
Went down to Stillwater for the mother-in-law's birthday the other day. So
happy birthday.
That was nice. Happy birthday, Diane.
Yeah. So I'd been thinking this whole time that my kid just was kind of by default going to have to grow up a Yankees fan because it's much more convenient to get to Yankee Stadium from where we'll be living. But as it turns out, the Yankees are playing almost no day games or weekend games for like 2 months or something after we moved there. So it looks like kiddo's going to be a Mets fan, which I'm happy about. Takes a little bit longer to get to, but I feel good about it in the long run.
I mean, can't be a Yankees fan. That's fucking wrong.
The thing that most upsets me is that the tickets are very expensive, and apparently it has the worst beer/concessions in sports. Maybe Rogers Center is worse, but that's it.
Are we talking like a grading scale that incorporates price and variety?
Definitely variety. I'm assuming price as well, because the price on everything in Yankee Stadium is high.
Yeah.
I know Eno Saris does a rundown of craft beer availability at various stadiums, and Yankee Stadium is always second to last. Not that Citi Field's great.
Houston's was bad when I was there, like that 10 times.
It's better. What I learned over the years is there's different stands throughout the stadium, and they're kind of hard to track down.
There's the one tiny stand that was in the outfield. This is like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The outfield concourse that was okay, but it was...
You haven't been there since they got rid of Tulse Hill, have you? Because they've totally redone it.
It's close. It's close.
Like St. Arnold's has a stand and Carbach has a stand, and there might be another place where you can get some other stuff besides those.
I know St. Arnold's had a stand when I was...
St. Arnold's has always had that one.
Yeah.
It's kind of over by, I don't know, one of the big hat shops, but there's some other options. It's a lot better than it used to be, at least.
Yeah.
But should we get into this? I think we have kind of like a little bit to talk about.
Okay, so we did tease The Sentinel.
Oh yeah, I did not get a chance to watch it, so...
If you didn't watch it, you probably can skip it. It's not that good. It's Michael Winner movie. He did the Robert Mitchum, Philip Marlowe stories, like Farewell My Lovely. And he did Death Wish. Mm-hmm. And this was sort of outside of his wheelhouse, I have to say. And I don't know that it really works. It's okay, and it has a fuckload of actors.
It sure does. It's got 1 million stars in it, like real stars.
Yeah. It's got fucking Ava Gardner, Jose Ferrer, John Carradine, Sylvia Miles, Burgess Meredith, Deborah Raffin, which is why we're watching, Eli Wallach, Christopher Walken, a young Jerry Orbach, which was super weird. Very young Beverly D'Angelo, which was also weird because she's in a May-December lesbianic demonic relationship.
Sounds kind of awesome.
With a lot of breast rubbing. Tom Berenger is in it for like 5 seconds at the end. I was like, wait, where was Berenger? And Goldblum was in it too.
Damn, Goldblum must have been a child.
It had a lot of people in it. I don't know that it was good. If you didn't watch it, that's fine. You didn't have to. I don't think it was particularly interesting or well done, but whatever.
It was definitely like a knockoff of Rosemary's Baby or The Exorcist, right? That's what it kind of looked like to me.
It was in that same vein, like religiously tinged horror movie. Mm-hmm. It was kind of dumb, so.
Well, should we jump in? We have
yes.
We have a lot of actors, I think, to talk about in this one in particular.
Yeah. Like 2 pages of notes on
actors. My God, so many actors.
So I will start with the recap. We are watching episode 3 of season 11 called Solitary. A douche bro walks into his girlfriend Lily's apartment for their 7-month anniversary, hours late with shitty flowers, but ready to get his fuck on, only to find the place trashed and her window open. When Benson and Stabler get there, he tells them it had to have been the perv downstairs who's been peeping into the apartment through the fire escape window, and a door knock later, we've got a one-time Best Actor nominee staring Stabler back in the face, saying he knows Elliot. We quickly find out that Callum Donovan was making his escape from a bank robbery 19 years ago, and Flatfoot Elliot literally ran into him on the sidewalk. Donovan went away for 2 decades, doesn't have any sexual priors, and has an explicable rationale for his fingerprints being on their shared fire escape, but Stabler and Benson decide that Donovan must be good for the bloody kidnapping. Toolbag Boyfriend says their ex-con neighbor is assaulting them with his cigarette smoke, but nothing about Donovan's demeanor or history implies he'd actually have done it. Sonia Paxton says, how about some fucking proof that he did it? Enter Lucille Bluth, defense attorney Petra Gilmartin, who waltzes in and advocates for a man who sure seems like he's not good for this crime. But before they can get out of the police station, the shithead bepurpled boyfriend kicks Donovan in the junk while he's kneeling, insisting he's not resisting. They follow Callum to work at the docks in Bayonne, where his supervisor says Callum's a stand-up dude and was out drinking with them until at least 7 the night before. When EO follow up at the bar, the bartender says that she's known him since he was a young man and that his incarceration broke her heart, adding that they almost got their fuck on last night, but that he had whiskey dick and left in shame. Lily turns up floating in the Hudson, but she's rushed to the ER clinging to life. When they get to the hospital, Dr. Dreamboat from last week tells us that Lily's got post-traumatic retrograde amnesia, but when they question her about what happened, she remembers a suspicious amount about what happened to her given said diagnosis. She maybe fingers Cal Donovan and says she was kept in a cold storage locker, which leads EO back to the cold storage at the pier, but there is no sign that she was ever there. They continue to harass and cajole Donovan, despite there being no fucking sign that he was involved. Tracy from CopyQuick responds to the dumb fucking Where's Lily Twitter account, saying she saw Lily arguing around midnight with some dude who wasn't Donovan because he was being interrogated at the station. Turns out, Lily's a fucking closet meth head who injured herself trying to wash off the stank-ass old broad cadaver from school, and then went out to try to score, only to find out that she had trashed her apartment looking for the meth she'd already done, so she had to rush out and get her tweak on. Dumbfuck Parker's Twitter account to find Lily sent things spiraling out of control, and she just went with it. They cuff the lying meth head, and Elliot heads out to apologize to Callum Donovan for a witch hunt based entirely on happenstance. He finds Donovan on the rooftop where he likes to get some air and starts to try to apologize when Donovan shoves Elliot off the roof. Elliot lands about 20 feet down on the neighboring roof. He comes to and calls out over walkie that there is an officer down. In the hospital, Elliot tries to snap back to work while sporting a neck brace on a gurney, but Cragen, Benson, and Finn tell him to chill the fuck out, they got this. Finn and Benson track down Donovan, visiting his sick mother at her group home, and then he tries to make a break for it, goading Benson to just be a hero and shoot him already. Stabler then barges into the interview room holding Donovan, but Cragen and Paxton stop him from doing anything to Callum. Paxton and Stabler have it the fuck out, with Stabler so thoroughly tearing Paxton down in retaliation that she slaps him. At arraignment, Gilmartin and Donovan argue that his 18-plus years in solitary confinement while incarcerated drove him mad at the prospect of going back to prison. Understandably. Paxton and Stabler aren't buying the defense, but Munch argues that solitary confinement is tantamount to torture. On the stand, Donovan details trying to simply survive in prison without joining the Aryans, but eventually having to fight them off in the shower with a shiv, which landed him in solitary, a hell which had no escape as he was stripped of his humanity by isolation. Donovan's testimony gets to Stabler, and he calls in a favor with a corrections officer to get himself put in solitary at Sing Sing for the weekend. Elliot loses all sense of self and reality, and possibly has a relationship with a cockroach in the 3 fucking days. When he gets out, he wants Paxton to drop the fucking charges. She tells him he lost his balls in a tough weekend in solitary in the clink, and that dropping the charges against Callum Donovan would set a bad example. He tells her she should be more worried about doing the right fucking thing. Then, when she doesn't cave, he threatens to report her to the DA for assaulting him in the interview room. She doesn't balk, and the jury finds Callum Donovan guilty. Callum begs the judge to just fucking kill him. Paxton tries to buy Stabler a congratulatory round at the bar, and he tells her there's nothing to celebrate, and feeling sorry for Callum ain't worth shit because she had the chance to do the right thing and didn't. Stabler ventures up to Sing Sing to see Callum in the hole again, when the CO tells him Donovan's drugged up on Haldol because he kept trying to bash his own head into the wall, but that he's getting moved to the infirmary and then Gen Pop once he's recovered. Stabler asked if the warden saw the light. The CO says only because Paxton shined the light in his fucking eyes, and then grabs Donovan to take him to the infirmary. Donovan takes one last look into the gaping maw of hell, and we get a, man, that dark dank hole has some startling powers, Dick Wolf.
This was an ambitious episode of SVU because it
really was.
It's not like anything else that I think I've seen.
No.
For one thing, it has acting that is not like we normally see in SVU. It's not kind of played big. It's played very understated and very interior. Mm-hmm. And it's asking the characters to question themselves in a way that we don't normally see. But at the same time, I don't know that it fully lands. It's interesting.
It's weird because it has a few scenes where you're just like, oh, they're really letting these actors just fucking go to town.
Yeah.
Like the scene between Paxton and Stabler in the interview room.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really good. You see her like, he's clearly cut to the bone because, you know, we later find out that, oh yeah, she's a drunk and she's just trying to hold everything together and is obviously not succeeding. But like the Stephen Rea scenes, holy shit, he's so good.
Yeah, I mean, it's out of control how good he is.
Yeah. We're way ahead of ourselves here, but I don't know that we've seen a better performance in an SVU than this.
I don't think we have. We've seen a couple that were like big, fun performances, you know, like thinking of Michael K. Williams in Underbelly. Underbelly, exactly.
Or Mahershala Ali.
Mahershala Ali. They were both like big, kind of over the top, but we haven't seen anything like this where, you know, where there's just this pathos that's just like oozing out of every pore. It's for sure pretty remarkable. He also manages to be a foreigner who can speak with a believable accent, which is refreshing.
Well, and his character was born in Ireland, too.
Yeah, exactly, because they got fresh off the boat. So, I mean, I guess, you know, he could have an Irish accent and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, because he was 10 when they came over, so... Okay, so guest stars.
Yeah, segue. Yeah, Stephen Rea. He's fucking amazing. He's really good.
Yeah, he's really fucking good.
Yeah.
So he's born in Belfast in 1946 to non-religious parents, per his Wikipedia page. He studied English at the Queen's University Belfast and drama at the Abbey Theatre School. He was friends with Sam Shepard dating back to the early 70s, starring in Shepard's directorial debut of his play Geography of a Horse Dreamer at the Royal Court Theatre in 1974. In the late 70s, he acted in the Stanislavski system championing Focus Company in Dublin alongside Gabriel Byrne and Cole Maney. In 1980, he helped establish the Field Day Theatre Company in Dublin with Seamus Heaney, Seamus Dean, and other Irish drama and culture luminaries. Around this time, he became friends with Neil Jordan, going on to star in 11 Neil Jordan films, and counting probably, including The End of the Affair, The Company of Wolves, Breakfast on Pluto, In Dreams, Michael Collins, Interview with a Vampire, and The Crying Game, for which Rea was nominated for the Oscar for Best Actor in 1992. A nomination he absolutely deserved because I just fucking rewatched that last night. Holy shit, does it hold up. Really fucking good.
Who won that one? Do you remember? Did you look it up? Because, Crying Game is a really good movie.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like threw Josh under the bus by putting the Boy George Crying Game theme on a previous episode, but that is a great song and just an all-around good movie. But he has been in so many good roles. He's been everything from Leopold Bloom in Bloom, which I did not see, but that's, a sort of a film version of Ulysses. He was Niels Bohr. He was Cardinal Richelieu. He's been a lot of different things.
So he lost to Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman.
Oh my fucking God. Ooh-ah! Ooh-ah! Scent of a Woman is such dog shit. Oh my God.
So he's also recently he's had main cast roles in shows like The Shadowline, Dickensian Counterpart, The Stranger, Flesh and Blood, Utopia, War and Peace, and The Honorable Woman, the last of which he received a BAFTA for. From 1983 to 2003, he was married to Dolores Price, a former provisional IRA bomber and hunger striker, and later Sinn Féin critic.
Interesting.
This will probably be too late for anyone to catch it streaming, but Crying Game was on Showtime if you have it, but I had to watch it streaming only. It's a live stream. The broadcast, I just happened, I looked it up and it was starting 40 minutes after I looked it up.
So if you see it for rent for $3.99 or something, it is
absolutely
100% worth it. It is a great movie.
Yeah. The only thing that's a little dodgy is Forrest Whitaker's accent.
Yeah, I mean, that's often dodgy. Forrest Whitaker, love him to death, but man, he can be a bit much at times. Moving on to Deborah Ann Woll, who's playing Lily Milton. She grew up in Brooklyn, graduated from Packer Collegiate Institute, a pre-K through 12 prep school in Brooklyn Heights. She got her BFA from USC School of Dramatic Arts and trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. She was main cast in True Blood and played Karen Page in Daredevil, The Defenders, and The Punisher. She has this weird show that she created called Relics and Rarities, which appears to be a partially animated Dungeons and Dragons tabletop
really
campaign thing, but where they get a celebrity guest on each episode. It looks kind of strange and clearly the nerdiest thing ever filmed, but people seem to like it, so I kind of want to watch it, at least one episode.
I would say that I was interested enough to say I'd watch 5 minutes. Moving down the line, we've got Jessica Walter.
Yeah, R.I.P. Jessica Walter.
R.I.P. That's my the first thing here. She's playing defense attorney Petra Gilmartin. She just died this last year.
I wish she was a recurring cast because she is so effing good.
God damn it. She's so good in this. Yeah. So obviously she's the beloved actress of Arrested Development fame. She's Lucille Bluth, and that's one of the best roles in the last 25 years. It's just so good. She's fucking brilliant in it. She's also the voice of Mallory Archer on Archer. She was born in Brooklyn in 1941, graduated from high school for the performing arts, and then went to the neighborhood Playhouse School for the Theater. She's been nominated for Emmys for 4 different roles, winning Best Actress in a Limited Series for playing the titular Amy Prentice in her spin-off from Ironside. She was nominated for a Golden Globe for her performances in Play Misty for Me and Grand Prix.
Yeah.
She was the voice of the mother on Dinosaurs, which I did not know until I was doing this dive. And she was main cast in the Three's Company spinoff, Three's a Crowd,
Weird.
Following Jack in his post-Three's Company shenanigans. She was married to Ron Liebman, who, amongst many other things, was executive ADA Stan Villani. She had 162 credits, including a ton of guest spots on every show under the sun, and all of the shitty 80s ones that Adam watches.
Oh, yeah. She was in 10 episodes of Trapper John MD, going back to last episode.
Yeah. She was, I think that was one of her Emmy nominations.
Okay.
Yeah, because the roles for women around that time were
not great. No, and so instead of The Sentinel, I think I'm going to watch Play Misty for Me because it looks really good. I've never seen it before, but it was a Clint Eastwood directed kind of...
It's his debut.
Yeah, it's his directorial debut, and it looks pretty fun.
I've seen it. It's...
She plays a demented super fan who...
Yeah. Okay, I would say Grand Prix is better.
Okay.
If you're going to watch one of the movies that she was Golden Globe nominated for, watch that.
Okay.
Just having seen both of them.
Yeah.
I've seen Grand Prix in the last year.
Okay.
Play Misty for Me, I saw 15, maybe 20 years ago. I'm not wild about it. Maybe you'd be... I don't really like Eastwood as a director, though.
Okay.
So
I feel like 1 out of every 4 movies he directs is really good, and then the other ones are kind of trash. But
this is the weirdest of his movies that he directed.
It looks very psychedelic, at least from the trailer. That's kind of when I want to see it. But
yeah. I mean, dive in if you want. I'm not going on that trip, though. She was also in... Back to Jessica Walter. She was in Slums of Beverly Hills, PCU, Tapeheads, and The Flamingo Kid.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, I'd watch the Tapeheads again before I watched
Flamingo Kid. I like that one too. I remember that from my younger days.
Yeah, I fucking love Jessica Walter.
She's really good. She's really great. She totally steals scenes, and she's stealing them from really good actors in this one. So, miss her.
Yeah. Then we've got Glenn Fleshler, who is corrections officer Kravitz. This is the second time we've seen Glenn Fleshler in Munchie.
Yeah.
Having first encountered him all the way back in episode 3, Intent, where he was shyster lawyer Philip Altshuler. He's been in tons of shit. Boardwalk Empire, Barry, Billions, Waco, The Night of, Hannibal, True Detective, and Damages, to name but a few.
Joker.
He's kind of a fantastic character actor. If you need this role played,
moon-faced weirdo, kind of.
Yeah. Then moving down the line, we've got Bobby Campo, who's playing. Bobby Campo is playing Parker Hubbard.
Yeah.
He was born in Wheeling, West Virginia, raised in St. Petersburg, Florida, and he oozes St. Petersburg. He was in.
Apologies, Bobby Campo.
I don't even know what that means. He was in The Final Destination and in the Scream TV series.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's in a bunch of stuff, but I've never fucking heard of any of it. And they're all, or it's like one-off guest spots in shows that are like, it's not that interesting.
Known for one episode of Justified, apparently.
Yeah, he was YOLO, which I vaguely remember, but I don't remember him being a standout performance at all.
He sure plays this role pretty well. He's a good douchebag.
I think we disagree on his performance, but we'll get into that. We've got John F. O'Donohue, who's playing Stevedore.
I love him.
Yeah, he was in a bunch of sketches from the Ben Stiller show.
I know, a bunch, like 13 episodes.
Yeah, all of them. All of the episodes of Ben Stiller show he's in, which is really weird to me. He also had recurring parts on the John Larroquette Show, Chicago Hope, Brooklyn South, and NYPD Blue.
Yeah, he was in like a big part of the last 4 seasons of NYPD Blue, which I did not see because I don't think any of the main cast were still on it by that point. But
John F. O'Donohue also had bit parts in The Cable Guy, Reality Bites, As Good as It Gets, and The Family Man. Then we've got Bernadette Quigley, who's playing Betty Jean. She was a chaplain in 4 episodes in season 2 of Mr. Robot. This is her second SVU appearance. She was also in 2 episodes of the original series. She appeared in an episode apiece of High Maintenance, Pose, and Chicago Justice.
I can tell that Bernadette Quigley has never worked as a bartender, but we'll get back to that later.
Yeah. Then we've got Joe Newman, who is playing Tracy, the CopyQuick employee. I really liked her.
I thought she was great, too. She was really fun.
Yeah. She's from Western Mass, and she's from Western Mass.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. Her credits weren't particularly interesting other than having been main cast in the 3rd season of the Joe Schmo Show, which was created by Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese, who are the Deadpool writers. I thought that was weird because the Deadpool movies are actually really fun.
Yeah.
She was Bree in Love and Other Drugs and appeared in the pilot of Hello Ladies, which I've seen, but fuck if I remember.
Yeah.
Then we've got Elizabeth Shepard playing Mrs. Donovan. She... Looking at her IMDb, it was like looking at something in a foreign language. She had a fuckload of British TV credits that may as well be entirely Jewish. The only credit that I truly recognized, I mean, she had like hundreds of credits. Yeah. The only one that I truly recognized was that she was in Damien the Omen 2.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a good one. But yeah, I mean, I didn't look at her page because I was doing other shit, but I've not heard of any of this stuff.
The most interesting thing is that she was originally cast as Mrs. Peel in the Avengers, the British Avengers, like from the 60s, but the role was recast with Diana Rigg.
Okay. Interesting.
And then last one I've got is Jabari Gray playing ESU Tech, Keegan Timmons. This is the first of 6 appearances as ESU Tech. But we've seen him before because he played a different character, Thomas, in Underbelly.
Interesting.
The episode where Danny Beck shoots Michael K. Williams.
Yeah.
We covered that in Munch My Benson 18 Tramp Stamp Stop and Frisk.
That's kind of a mind melter.
Yeah, sure. He's done a lot of small parts on like New York-based shows and soap operas. He had recurring parts on Billions and Shades of Blue. And he popped up in the penultimate episode of The Americans as an FBI agent.
And then, of course, we have Christine Lottie in this one. We've talked about her a couple times, but still, she's in it, and this is the first time I can say with wholeheartedly that you're right, Josh. She's very, very good.
Yeah,
she's very, very, very good.
Really, the scene between her and Stabler
is excellent. Both scenes, between her and Stabler in the interrogation room, and then at the bar. And the bar is obviously much shorter, but it's like
and then in her office after he gets out.
Yeah, very, very good.
This is what you kind of wish Hadid could be. And is not.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because there's just not the life behind it, because like she really brings something to the character. Oh, going back to Jabari Gray, since when is there a new Murphy Brown, and why is there a new Murphy Brown?
They relaunched everything. They're so risk averse that they've basically run out of ideas.
Yeah, but I don't. But why is that the idea that somebody wants to go back to? It's like that.
Coach was there was a Coach reunion that was greenlit too.
Bizarre.
It ended up shutting back down, but what the fuck?
I mean, like Major Dad.
Who needs a Coach reunion?
But like Major Dad, but he's got PTSD because he's murked like 400 Afghan children or something. That's something I could watch.
Yeah, but it's a drama because McCraney's got dramatic chops for days.
Yeah, it's a gritty reboot. Yeah,
yeah. Moving into episode notes, this one is directed.
Before we get there, we'll talk about the director because I think the direction is good in this one. I don't know again if it's her doing that brought some of these choices, but I really enjoyed it. So keep going.
The director of this episode is again Helen Shaver.
Yeah.
She was the star of Desert Hearts alongside Patricia Charbonneau.
Yeah.
That indie darling from 1984 or 5 or so. That was the first kind of mainstream movie to normalize lesbian relationships.
Yeah.
Really good movie. As Adam would say, that's a Josh movie.
Obviously. It clearly, as we've seen.
But yeah, she directed this and she does a fucking bang up job here.
It's fantastic. Now, I don't know, like the thing that really stuck out to me was how good the sound production was on this one, which we can get to when we get to those scenes where it really becomes a big part of it. And I don't know if that's a directorial choice or the producers chose that, but whoever was making those.
Like the sound design in the fucking jail in solitary is fucking great.
Yeah, just fantastic. Really, really great. Kind of steals the show almost.
So you had another note before we really get into episode notes.
Well, because I feel like I should go through some sort of geographical stuff. So Callum has an apartment at 68 Grand Street, which is in Soho. It's a very expensive part of town, as noted that the couple pays, Lily and Parker pay $3,500 a month in rent, which is a lot. I'll admit to that, having looked at apartments in New York. Now, for that neighborhood, it's not actually all that much. To pay much less than that, you're not going to have much space. There are apartments in that neighborhood for like $25,000 a month. But I digress. So Callum, he's got a rent-controlled apartment, and his is supposedly $800 a month. Now, the thing with rent control is that you had to be living continuously in the apartment since 1971, since like July 1st, 1971, and the building had to have been built before 1947. Now, the median rent in New York in 1971 was $108. So $800 in 1971 got you a fucking sweet pad, like way better than Serpico's pad.
With rent control, though, they can up it. I looked into this a little bit because I was like, $800 seemed like a lot to pay in 1971.
Yeah.
They weren't paying $800 then. There is a modest amount of money that they can mark up to adjust for inflation.
Okay, yeah, they can adjust
rent
for
control
inflation.
does adjust for inflation, but that's it.
But it's not like the rent stabilization is the other one, which can go up.
It's not rent stabilization. Yeah. Rent control, it's a very specific adjustment, essentially for inflation and rising cost of living.
Now, here's where I started with this. So Callum lives there in Soho. He works supposedly at Pier 19 in Bayonne, New Jersey, which there's not such a thing as Pier 19, but
it's a pier in Bayonne.
There's a piers in Bayonne. Now, Bayonne, New Jersey's across the Hudson. It's very close to Staten Island. Now, it's the site, in my mind, of what could have been by far the worst disaster in U.S. history. Almost happened in 1943. A ship called El Estero was getting loaded with ammunition to be taken to Europe to...
Wait. The ship's name was El Austero, like Lucille Austero?
El Estero.
Okay, that's too bad.
I am stable as a table. So, is there a girl in your life?
Well, I would hardly call my mother a girl. But yeah, she's still very much a part of my life.
No, I mean, someone who makes you hear music.
She mostly likes talk radio.
Yeah, it's El Estero.
It would be way better if it was Lucille too.
Anyways, it was loaded with 5,000 tons of ammunition, and it caught fire and very nearly exploded. Estimates of what the blast radius would have been had it exploded would have had like 5 miles of total devastation, which would have included most of lower Manhattan, and 10 to 15 miles of like partial devastation and rampaging fires. Several tugboats were able to tow it into upper New York Bay, and then fire ships were able to sink it using their water cannons, but it was still burning underwater for like over 2 or 3 days. But it probably would have doubled the death toll suffered by the U.S. during World War II had it gone up just in one instant. So I always think about that. Now, to get to Bayonne from Soho, you kind of have 2 options, and one of them is the obvious route. The other one is kind of clued in by where Veronique St. John's nursing home is located, which we get to later. So the first option is that you can take the PATH train from Lower Manhattan to New Jersey, that's the Port Authority, the Trans-Hudson train, across to New Jersey, and then take a NJ Transit train. None of those things are cheap. They cost like $10 a ticket, and it's an hour and a half minimum each direction. The other option is you take the train down to the Staten Island ferry, take a 25-minute ferry to Staten Island, and then a half-hour bus ride to Mom's nursing home, and another half-hour bus ride from Mom's nursing home to the port in Bayonne. So either way, you're looking at like well over an hour and a half commute in each direction, which is fucking outrageous, man. Like, it's a lot. I know it's a rent-controlled apartment, but man, get a port job on the New York side of the river.
Yeah, for sure. My first note about the episode is this boyfriend's voice cracking while freaking out is really distracting.
You thought that was distracting? You didn't think Party with the Parkster big guy was more distracting?
Everything about him was distracting, but none of it is helping engender sympathy.
No.
It's like if we were watching Joe Latrulio's character in I Love You, Man.
Yeah.
But he's thrust into this dark universe.
Well,
and we're meant to take him seriously. So this guy... I had problems with him.
But I mean, he's terrible, and so is Lily, but as it turns out...
I had problems with his performance.
Yeah, I mean, because the episode opens on him, I think we're really meant to focus on him more than we otherwise would have had they gone a different route.
Yeah, for sure.
It is...
But, then we get a door knock, and it's Stephen Rea, and I'm like, okay, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Stephen Rea, his skin is drooping off of his face. He's got hollow eyes. He looks like, he's just been thrown in an English prison for 10 years for some reason.
I have to say I'm liking the bit of Stabler backstory here.
See, there are nice ways to bring in backstory without having to beat us over the head with ex-wives.
And they do it here well.
They do. Absolutely.
Yeah. And, it's just dumb luck. But, as Cragen says, so you made your bones on his back.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's how Stabler became a detective so young, is that he nabbed this collar by accident.
Yeah, that he stopped this robbery in progress, essentially.
Yeah.
Stephen Rea's character, Callum, is a bank robber.
Mm-hmm.
It seems pretty weird that they'd think he potentially did this right off the bat, especially Cragen's idle surmising of the chance that he disposed of her body. What about his criminal past leads you to believe that this could be him?
Well, it's an interest because it's kind of like a flippant comment about the prison system, but they say, oh, he probably learned some new tricks inside, which is pretty dark. I mean, maybe, but...
I think by the end of this episode, anyone jumping down that line of questioning is sort of second-guessing themselves. Mm-hmm. Really liking Stabler making a run at Callum Donovan. Maloney and Rea are really getting to do some work in that interview room.
Yeah, Maloney's really great in this. I mean,
it feels like this is his episode that he's trying to get an Emmy nomination for.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of surprised he didn't.
Seriously, he really was good in this. He really was good. And I was not expecting him to be so good when I first watched this, because Stephen Rea's like, instantly you see this guy and you're like, oh man, this guy is a sad, lonely, pathetic, kind of like hollow person. And you get that instantly. You kind of get the whole package right away. And I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to work with the kind of normal SVU banter.
Right.
But it really does.
And then they get out of the room and they're talking with Paxton, and Stabler's like,
for now, Donovan's our guy.
Humor me with some proof.
He's been watching Lily from the fire escape.
And what about the boyfriend? Did he ever see Donovan out there?
No, but Lily told him about it.
That's hearsay. Guys, until you find some admissible evidence against your old pal Donovan, we can't hold him here.
Cut him loose is going to give him time to clean up after himself, which is going to make it that much harder for us to get that evidence.
Charge number, come say goodbye.
She is really good when she's giving them the business.
She is, but I mean...
And obviously she's got a coffee in hand here because it's as Irish as Stephen Rea.
Well, that's true. But...
Yeah.
Yeah, and you really do notice how she always has a beverage, right? And it always has a lid on it. Or she's just having a drink at the bar. But at the same time, she's giving them the business in the first half of the episode about how they're kind of going too fast, trying to railroad this guy. And then she's the one doing it at the end.
Yeah.
But
well, and, Stabler jumps down her throat about justice.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously I'm going to fucking just cut that whole scene in when we get to it. But yeah, they're really getting to do some work here.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it's refreshing to see a lawyer really advocating for her client and not having to be called in to do it. Like, Jessica Walter straight slays it when she comes in.
Yeah, she's kicking ass when she arrives.
Yeah.
And again, I wish we had the chance to see her a lot more than this.
Right. Especially with her husband being in the fold.
Yeah.
It would make sense. But yeah, it's really nice to see her get to flash her dramatic chops here.
Yeah. Do you find it weird that they name drop Twitter in an episode this early on? Because usually they kind of make up a website. I mean, I think this was 2009, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or am I...
Yeah, I mean, I was on Twitter then.
Yeah, I know, but I think that's right when it started. I think it might have...
2007,
okay.
I think, is when Twitter started.
Okay. It started in... Well, it was first launched to the public in Austin at South by Southwest.
Of course it was. Donovan's boss / foreman they call him Stevedore, but it doesn't seem like he's just a Stevedore.
I mean, they're all Stevedores.
Yeah, it sounds like he's a foreman, though.
Yeah.
But he has his back.
Yeah.
I took these notes as I was going through the first time, and then I wrote the recap after.
Yeah.
But this feels like a fucking witch hunt episode where an ex-con just has to be a recidivist in their eyes. I mean, dude was a fucking bank robber. It does not fit.
No, it's not exactly where you go. You don't go from bank robbing to murdering people and then hiding the bodies somewhere. That's a pretty big escalation.
Yeah. And then they get the call that, there's a body in the Hudson and it fits her description. And when they get there, the EMT says another miracle on the Hudson.
Drink, Sully reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is our second Sully Sullenberg reference that we've experienced in Munch My Benson. The last one being in Glasgowman's Wrath, which I don't remember the name of the episode that we... I know the Dick Wolf was a big Scottish Dick Wolf, but... I don't remember what the episode was called. Doesn't matter. But right before then, we went to the bar, which was called McGlade's. The Stevedore told us to go to. That's where they drink.
That episode of Munch My Benson was called Where an SVU Prophesies the Future of Tom Hanks' Filmography. I don't know how you don't remember that.
I went looking for McGlade's. There's no McGlade's in Bayonne, New Jersey. There is a McGlade's in New Jersey, though. It's in Cape May. So kind of the wrong end of the state.
Yeah, I doubt that they went all the way down to Cape May to have a drink. To have a drink.
But still, okay, so the bartender is supposed to have known Callum since they were kids. Now, why is a bartender in Bayonne known a lifelong Soho boy since they were children? That doesn't really make sense to me. Like, that's not the old neighborhood. Another thing, you can tell there's something off with this bartender because she actually stops pouring beers to go talk to SVU, which is not
anything that's ever happened in the history of the show.
But I mean, were you criticizing her pour though the way I was? I was incensed.
No, I was surely writing notes both times.
I was incensed. She didn't even fill up the fucking glass, Josh.
Oh, that's a real dick move.
If a bartender handed me this glass with like 2 inches at the top and like a thin head, I'd be like, no, do better.
When we get to the hospital, it's the same doc from Clock.
Yeah.
Last week's episode, he was also the doctor in Blast.
Now, I looked into him. He quit acting before SVU called him in.
Yeah, he basically had soap credits.
But then the producers of SVU liked him so much that they kept bringing him back for this doctor role.
Yeah, yeah.
He was running like another kind of Hollywood adjacent business, doing like some kind of... I looked him up both times, but it's some kind of consulting work.
Yeah, I looked him up both times, and I was just like, I don't feel like I need to really dive
There's nothing worth talking about, yeah.
Like, he was in All My Children or some shit. Guiding Light, I think. I think he was in Guiding Light.
Yeah. There is a @Where's Lily Twitter account. The bio is model, and she has 8 followers, and she hasn't tweeted since February 2019, so I don't think...
Right on. I love that doucher boyfriend didn't know what post-traumatic retrograde amnesia was. Like, she needs to dump this dunce right quick.
It's not that hard to figure out, you know?
No. It should take like a quarter of a second to figure out what that is, even if you've never fucking heard of it. Amnesia is like the one thing that you know what it is when you're a kid. My next note is get this boyfriend out of there. Maybe jettison him into space.
I mean, but it's not like Lily's a catch herself. She is a troubled Hudson University student, after all.
Yeah, but mortuary science.
Was that what she was into?
Right? I don't know. She was fucking with cadavers.
Well,
I guess it could be med school.
Yeah, med school. Now, having lived near the anatomy lab here in Galveston and having a wife who had to open up cadavers, I mean, I think by the time they're dead, they're all kind of ugly. And so they're either old women or they're old men, generally speaking. That's most of the time who's donating their bodies to science. And they smell like formaldehyde. They don't really smell like old woman.
Yeah.
Now, the formaldehyde does smell gross. And I can imagine it being creepy, but I think it's only creepy like the first time or two, and you kind of get over it because you're doing stuff.
When they're asking Lily about what happened to her, my first note is, sure got a lot of recall for post-traumatic retrograde amnesia.
Sure does. Now, I wish we had more kind of data. So they clearly did like a Staten Island Bayonne day. They had the trucks out there because I'm pretty sure where they had her was either in Bayonne just across from Staten Island or the other way around.
Yeah.
But very close to the docks setup. And I wish I knew where she supposedly went in the water so I could do another tide chart rundown, but there was not enough information for that. But still, like, you don't throw yourself. Hold on, I gotta look something up real quick.
I'm almost all the way through season 2 of The Wire, so I just saw the tide charts very recently.
Okay, so this did all go down in July, so July 23rd. Still, nothing having to do with this episode. I did look up the water temperature in New York, and at this time in July, it's like typically around
75 degrees.
No, not that warm, like 65 degrees.
Okay, that's cold enough, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Yeah.
To be in the water for a couple hours would be pretty fucking cold. You would be in...
And be in that shitty water.
You'd be hypothermic by then.
Yeah.
It's a better way to, like, fake your own kidnapping, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but, she was strung out on meth.
She sure was.
It's really frustrating when they get tunnel vision like this.
But they do it often, and I think it's frustrating because we like these characters, right? But I think it is them saying
that it is human nature.
That is human nature. It is the nature of investigators. You have a theory of a crime, and you see it through to the end. I think most of the time, the simplest explanation is the right explanation, right? So it's more complicated to say that this chick had some freak out and faked her own kidnapping, and rather it's, it's the creep that has been, peeping Tom.
Right. The copy quick chick is fucking fantastic.
Love her. Now, you notice all the cues around the copy quick thing? It's kind of a presaging the Q conspiracy, I think, a little bit. Kind of makes you think.
No, she's actually one of the Q continuum.
Yeah. What do you think is going on in the basement of the copy quick, Josh? That's what I want to know. Also, I love her description of the guy that Lily's having an argument. He was Asian, like ugly cute, and much, much younger. What does ugly cute mean?
It's a masshole thing. So she didn't want to smell like dead old lady for her special night with Parker? Who'd want a special night or even a regular night with Parker?
She wants to party with the Parkster. Come on, who doesn't want to party with the Parkster? He looked like a great time.
Raising my hand right here, I do not want to party with Parker.
I mean, Parker Hubbard is one of the fakest names we've heard so far, and we've heard a lot of fake-ass names.
Okay, so they figure everything out, and then Stabler goes to apologize.
Yeah.
It's like, he better fucking apologize. And then Donovan shoves him off the fucking roof. And that is the biggest fucking, wait, what?
Yeah, just the cut to commercial. Elliot
just
flies, cut to commercial.
Wild.
Now, to be fair, come on, Elliot, have a little bit more situational awareness. Maybe announce your intentions, right away. Don't wander casually to the edge of the roof.
This motherfucker, you've been harassing him.
For 20
harassing
years.
him endlessly. For the last, 3 days at this point? 2 days?
They've been harassing this guy.
It's been nonstop harassing him.
And for 20 years, this guy has, had you in his head every second of every day because you're the one who put him in that goddamn hole.
Right. by chance.
Maybe just be like, hey, Callum, I'm sorry. That's how you start the conversation.
Yeah, like, hey, I come in peace. Hands up. Whatever.
Honestly, that fall looked really rough. It was at least 2 stories, maybe 3 stories.
Yeah, I assume it was like 20 feet or so.
It looked rough.
And, like, there are consequences to fucking harassing suspects who clearly didn't do it, and Elliot's finding him out here.
Yeah, I mean, he's lucky he's alive.
Yep.
He's lucky he has a use of his legs.
Yeah, and then my next note is Stabler actually has Paxton's number. This episode may have its flaws because, we jump basically from the hospital scene where he's on the gurney with a fucking neck stabilizer.
Yeah.
And Paxton's there, and then Stabler tries to get up, and, they basically go get Donovan right away based on the intel. All the calls to Veronique. So they get Donovan, Stabler charges in, and then Paxton's like, fuck off.
But I love the Veronique St. John scene. I fucking love that scene.
Yeah, that scene's really fun.
So they show up, and she has this name, and somebody says, sounds like a porn star, and then like Finn's there at the door, and, she's like a Jamaican woman or has a West Indies accent.
It looks like she's almost wearing a kimono, right?
It does. It looks like she's wearing a kimono. I think it's like a kimono dress, but it looks like a robe, and she has that name, and it's like, yeah, we all think that she's a sex worker. Everybody does. And Finn's like, what, are you some kind of hooker or something? And she's like, no, I run a group home.
She takes umbrage.
I run a fucking group home for like people with Alzheimer's.
Well, you said client. No, that seems fine.
Veronique St. John.
Yes.
When is the last time you saw Callum Donovan?
He came by last night.
He tell you we were looking for him?
I don't ask my clients questions.
You a hooker?
The hell I am.
Oh, you said client.
This is a private group home. Mr. Donovan's mother is a resident here.
Cal said he lost his mother.
She is lost. Alzheimer's.
But yeah, like, then we get to the Stabler, like, charging into the interview room, and, he gives the bogus, like, I'm just going to fucking transfer him to central booking.
Well, we don't know what he's about to do, but he doesn't look like he's...
No, it very clearly seems like it has nothing to do with him transferring Callum to central booking.
It doesn't look like he's about to start beating him up, because I think we know Elliot well enough, but at the same time, he doesn't have the most pure intentions.
He is excitable.
He is.
So then, Stabler and Paxton have it out in interrogation.
I don't work for you. I'm not going to watch you brutalize a prisoner in custody.
I was going to lay a finger on him.
Oh, really?
I was transferring him to central booking.
Well, under the circumstances, that's not appropriate.
It's my case!
No, you're not the case, detective. You're the victim. Oh, I'm sorry. Does that word offend you? Big, strong Elliot Stabler. Can't be anyone's victim, right?
You don't know me.
Oh, trust me. I read your file.
You know, you've had a hard-on for me since the day you walked into the squad.
No, hon, not at all. I got problems with anybody who doesn't play by the rules.
No, your rules. You act like the law is holy scripture. You don't give a damn about the law. You want control. Okay. You don't know me. You know me. I know you. I see perps like you walk in here every day of the week. They gotta have control or the whole world falls apart. But inside, they're scared, weak, damaged.
Great scene.
Yeah, like, this episode may have its flaws, but it's clearly giving the actors a chance to do some real fucking work.
Really good actors doing really good work, and I think it's the best we've seen from Elliot. I think it's the best we've seen from Christine Lottie, and we've seen them both. Elliot, we've seen a bunch, but Christine Lottie we've seen a few times, and this is the first time I've been like, wow, she's really fucking great.
Yeah, this is where you like, oh, I understand all the nominations you've had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's really fucking great.
And, like, she sucks here. Like, when she starts, like, poo-pooing the defense, it's very clearly, like, to anyone with a fucking conscience or a moral fucking compass, all of that solitary confinement would be fucking awful.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
She sort of, like, poo-poos it as a bogus defense, and I'm just like, instantly, I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah, fuck you, lady.
Then Munch gets his scene where he just, like, the whole diatribe is gold. He's like, I'm glad someone's finally airing the prison system's dirty laundry. Stabler's like, are you buying Donovan's BS? And Munch is like, humans are social creatures. Prolonged isolation warps our humanity. And then he goes on to detail like, okay, well, why is solitary confinement the torture of choice for the Iran hostages or Abu Ghraib?
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason fucking it's awful.
See, I didn't love that scene. I mean, I know that they had to have that conversation between like the various sides of the solitary confinement debate, but that one kind of felt a little bit too... It was a little too like rote to like, here are the two sides of the issue and we're going to have the conversation. I know they had to do that, but I didn't love that scene as much as some of the others.
Well, it makes sense though in this setting, especially because you've got fucking cops who are putting perps away with little thought of what happens after they've advocated for a victim.
Of course, it's another in a long line of interactions that make me go, why did Munch want to be a cop in the first place? You know what I mean? Like the thing that doesn't make sense because Munch's position here is consistent with, I think, when they write Munch well, this is who Munch is, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's sometimes they don't always do that. They don't always know what to do with Munch, but like this is Munch as I see him as like...
Yeah. In my head, when I envision Munch, this is him.
This is a position that he would absolutely take.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know why I'd be a cop. like go be like one of the...
But he's the one who's actually based on a cop.
I know he is, but...
That's why David Simon keeps getting money, because he is based on Jay Landsman.
Really? He's the real Jay Landsman. Oh,
he is based on the real Jay Landsman, yes.
The Homicide book, which is from David Simon's like reporting, where he kind of just like hung out with the...
Yeah, it's Homicide, a year on the streets, right?
Year on the Streets, excellent, highly recommend it. You know, it doesn't have the polemics that David Simon's TV work often does, because it is reporting,
it's
reportage, but it's very good, very, very good.
Because, I mean, that's where he came from. You know, he was a...
Exactly, yeah, he's Baltimore Sun.
Yeah.
Like Metro desk. Yep. That was his thing.
So then we get to the courtroom, and holy shit, Stephen Rea fucking sticks the landing on the stand.
I know. Usually I'm like, oh, courtroom, boring.
No.
Not this time.
All that time alone. What was it like?
Death. Except you're still breathing. And all you hear is the sound of that breath. For days, months, years.
What did you do every day alone in that cell?
At first you'd sleep 12, 14 hours at a time, but then you can't sleep anymore. So I'd watch my shadow till it turned into someone else. Started talking to me.
Your shadow?
I knew the voice was in my head, but I couldn't shut it out. It was always there, whispering. Smell your tongue. Pluck your eyes out. Chew off your hands. Come on, you can do it. Even now when I'm alone, I sometimes still hear that voice.
How do you cope now?
I work. I walk for hours. I'm afraid to sleep. I sit on the roof all night, listen to the city. Any sound to block out that voice.
And when Detective Stabler came up on that roof?
I heard the shadow laughing at me. I felt it pulling me back down into that hole. Detective Stabler, you'll never know what it's like to be truly alone. To go through endless days without seeing a face or hearing a voice. You can't imagine it. Unless you wind up there yourself.
I mean, you just get this...
I mean, it gets to Stabler, you know? Like, obviously it gets to Stabler, because Stabler's like, then fucking smash cut to Stabler getting walked down to a solitary cell. And I'm like, wait, what? This is not a turn I saw coming.
Yeah, there's one more kind of drinking moment, because Erica Bradshaw was the clerk in this one. So I'm going to drink for Erica Bradshaw, our favorite... Our favorite recurring legal clerk.
Yeah. Or is she a bailiff, kind of?
She was reading the charges.
Yeah.
Is what she did. She read the charges and like handed something to either the judge or the bailiff. I don't remember. But then, I was not expecting this to go where it goes.
I mean, there is no dialogue for probably 3 minutes of screen time.
And it's one of my favorite sequences that I've seen in SVU.
Yeah, it's absolutely captivating.
It's fucking amazing.
I mean, when he makes love to that cockroach.
I know. He fucked that roach, didn't he? He fucked that roach.
No, he fucked the roach.
So starting in the courtroom scene, Stephen Rea kind of describes his demons that he, like the voices that he hears.
Yeah.
And this is when the sound design really comes into it, because we start hearing this kind of like whispering background shit. Mm-hmm. And then it really kind of comes in. But when Elliot goes into this solitary confinement cell, at first he's kind of normal. He's doing sit-ups and he's like pacing about and being kind of like intense Elliot.
He's doing what you would assume Stabler would do in a prison cell.
Yeah, as it goes on, like you start hearing those little murmurs of sound coming up. But then there's not just those murmurs, there's also the clanking of all the metal and the kind of scattering of the roaches. Fantastic work. Really good shit. Everybody should have gotten Emmys for this one.
Yeah. Good job post. Good job post sound. Like really, really great sound design here. So I was like, wait, so Glenn Fleshler owes him?
I guess so.
But we don't know why.
We don't hear why. We don't know what Glenn Fleshler used to do.
When he's in there, I'm like, wait, is Stabler going to come out as his character in Oz?
But I mean, I thought he might be like visiting Stephen Rea while Stephen Rea was in prison. I thought a bunch of different things. I was not expecting him to get locked in there and to go mad.
Oh yeah, to go mad, but also to completely ignore any familial duties he has. I absolutely think it's better for him to deal with the consequences of what his job does to the people he puts away. Mm-hmm. But he does have a toddler at home.
Yeah, he has a toddler. He has, 4 other kids, right?
Yeah. That cockroach shit was disgusting, though. And it's obviously it's a picture roach. Uh-huh. My one question is, did they have a cockroach wrangler on set?
Yeah, do they have? Okay.
And does this have to pass? I have a call I could make to ask if this is true, or if this is the case. But I wonder if they have to get approval by American Humane.
Okay, so yeah. Are the roach wranglers, which union do they belong to? Because I know a lot of the pet people don't get residuals because they're members of the Teamsters.
Yeah, IATSE. I'm sure they're IATSE.
Yeah, exactly. They're Teamsters, so they can drive their own pets with real vehicles. Yeah. But they don't get residuals. So whoever drove Lassie to fucking Lassie doesn't Lassie never made any money for that after besides the check for the show. Mm-hmm. It's fucking bullshit, man.
Yeah, or Eddie. Or Asta.
Yeah.
Neither
Eddie.
of them got
fucking
paid.
Multiple Eddies. The orangutan
Moose
from...
and Moose's kid.
Yeah. The orangutan from Any Which Way But Loose, speaking of Clint Eastwood films. That orangutan is so much better in that film than Clint Eastwood is, and that orangutan made fucking nothing off of that. Disgusting.
So then Stabler gets out and he wants to drop the charges, but now Paxton wants to fuck shit up. Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, when he threatened her with assault charge, pretty great. Pretty great.
But I mean, she was also pretty great too, because Elliot had been rattled by this experience in the hole, and Christine Lottie's smoking I guess you could smoke a cigarette in a city office back then. But
I mean, if you're an alcoholic who doesn't give a fuck.
It's true, but she has a look in her eyes I don't give a fuck. You don't scare me, honcho.
Okay. I guess my one qualm with this is, why wouldn't Stabler volunteer at this point to testify for the defense? He could sort of surreptitiously get her hey, you should call me to the stand.
Well, so exactly, in the sentencing phase especially, right?
They hadn't gotten a verdict yet. It hadn't gone to the jury. He could have, because the defense calls witnesses after the prosecution does, and so he could have told the defense, you should call me to the stand.
Absolutely.
And, done it in a way that wouldn't look really obvious that he was going to fucking torpedo the prosecution.
I mean, he definitely could have done that for the sentencing phase too. I don't know exactly how sentencing works in New York, but usually you can recall witnesses for that. So even if Elliot had been called as a witness to just give the facts of what happened to him, which must have happened.
Yeah.
We didn't see it happen, but I mean, come on. He is a police officer and he was fucking thrown off a roof. Like, they had to have talked to him about that.
Sure.
But they might object to bringing in things that are not facts. You know, Elliot's not an expert in torture or, you know, solitary confinement, but he could, in the sentencing phase, kind of bring up his own experiences with that. I don't know.
I suppose it would give us a less fucked ending.
But it's kind of like he's happy. He gets to be in Gen Pop and be around the fucking Aryan Brotherhood again.
It's still fucking prison, you know?
Yeah.
Then Callum goes away and Stabler's having not a celebratory drink at the bar.
No.
And Liv, I do not know why Liv would offer up where Stabler was to fucking Paxton, but whatever.
Yeah.
So Paxton goes in and tries to like buy him around and he's like, you had the shot to do the right thing and you didn't.
Yeah.
This is kind of damning of prosecutors in general, who've come under a lot of fire for fucking cause over the last 10 years. But
yeah, shout out to Larry Krasner in Philadelphia, who is one of the few good guys out there for big city prosecutors.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Paxton really, she does a good job at being a representative of what's wrong with the criminal justice system.
Yep.
I kind of wish we saw a character like that more often, right?
Right.
Because when we have Cabot, when we have Diane Neal, they are diligent truth seekers, right? The normal ADAs that we see. But Paxton is like, she has an agenda, and her agenda is not necessarily the best outcomes. That's not what her agenda is. But I like it. It lends itself to interesting television.
For sure.
Which is good. Yeah, and then we get kind of a brutal scene where Stephen Rea is kind of being led away from the solitary confinement cell, and it's like, oh, he's sort of happy because he's not in the hellhole anymore, but he's still in prison, and he's going to be there probably for the rest of his life.
Well, attempted murder is not that long.
But he's not that young.
I mean, I guess it's a second offense, but I would assume he's only in for 5 years.
Hopefully. Good behavior if he doesn't try to shiv the Aryan Brotherhood again.
He should have gotten years shaved off of his sentence for that. Fuck that.
Seriously. Yeah, seriously.
He's doing everyone a favor.
Except the, corrections officers who are all on the take from the Aryan Brotherhood's drug ring
Yeah, which is like all of them, I'm sure.
Most likely. So we rank these episodes. We rank on 4 criteria. That's the quality, the guests, how problematic the episode was, and the depth or breadth of lives ruined. We're coming up with a composite score so we can rank it against all the other episodes that we've seen. And this one, I think, ticks different boxes than we're generally used to, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So quality is kind of maybe the hardest one to judge.
Yeah.
Because it's quite good at times, but I don't know that as a whole it's like an all-timer in a weird way, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah. I think it's
very memorable, but for a different category here, not for the overall episode quality.
I mean, I think it's still obviously above average.
I think it's well above average, and we have to give marks.
But it's not like a 10. It's not a 10 for quality. It's probably like...
It's not a 10.
I'm inclined to say it should be a 7, but it's probably an 8 because I want to give it props for trying to tell a different story, and I think the direction's really good.
I think the direction is fantastic, and you're right. It is ambitious. It's definitely taking a swing at something deeper and more interesting than normally gets discussed in SVU.
Like a true moral quandary, and it like forces you to reckon with the prison system.
That it's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
It's a fucked up thing.
I mean, people don't want to think about what happens after fucking people go away. Like, oh, they just want to worry about what happens with a criminal or with a criminal being prosecuted. And then once a criminal's prosecuted, they don't even bother to think about the fucking often inhumane treatment that they receive while in the joint.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm happy with 8 guests.
10.
It's got to be 10. This is a no doubt 10.
No hesitation, no doubt. Yeah, this is a 10.
I mean, Stephen Rea alone, I think, would make it a 10, but we've also got Jessica Walter, we've got Christine Lottie as being fantastic in it.
Yeah.
It's an easy 10.
Yeah, and that's even with dipshit boyfriend who I fucking hated in it.
Yeah, but
he's not taking anything away from Stephen Rea here.
And Lily was good too. I mean, Lily's kind of turn as the drug-addled college student was pretty good.
Yeah, not what I was expecting.
No.
But I mean, Stephen Rea is just so fucking good.
It's so fucking good. I mean, really, it's really, really good.
I was like, wait, huh? What is he doing in here? How is he this good?
Mm-hmm.
How is this happening in an episode SVU?
It's not like a normal one. It's really not. So, okay, so was it problematic?
Not in the fun way that we typically rate this for, but it is dealing with something.
It is dealing with deep problems in society, like the fact that
it's systemic problems.
Uh-huh. Like we try to lock everybody up and throw away the key. And also the problem that like we as a society are more willing to trust the parkster and his drug addicted girlfriend than we are
an ex-con. Yeah.
An ex-con. Absolutely. Who by all accounts really hadn't done anything post his conviction or really even during his stay that warranted our treatment of him.
There is some like fun problematic stuff. I think the interplay between Paxton and Stabler opens itself up to some, especially from her, some like weird emasculation going on. Mm-hmm. Where like, oh, how dare you fucking have sympathy for a fucking convict.
And also, Stabler had like an interphylum, sex event happen.
Yeah, there is that. He fucked a cockroach.
He got down with a arthropod.
That's the name of the episode.
So, I mean, that's something.
Yeah, he did get down on an arthropod. So,
what do we call this?
It's weird. It's weird because
is it like a 4? Is it like slightly below average, but still has problems?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it still has problems, and it's not the problematic that we rate this category based on, but it's still there.
It's not Andrew McCarthy licking his lips, or
domineering over his secretary over not having drawn the blinds by 3.
Yeah, but it is definitely problematic. And then the depth and breadth of lives ruined is another kind of weird one to answer with this episode, because how do we account for the fact that this episode is kind of advocating for the 2.5?
Yeah, for heavy prison reform.
Yeah, for 3 million people that are locked away, and whether they were animals or not when they went in there, they've been treated like them and oftentimes come out like them, just brutalized by a inhumane system
and like thoroughly PTSD'd.
Yeah,
I mean, fucking Callum. And this is fallout from very specifically from Stabler on the Callum front. This is Stabler caught this guy, which, whatever, he robbed a bank. I don't really care that much about bank robbing. I mean, it's insured.
It's insured. Yeah. I mean, if you don't hurt anybody, then who cares? I mean, still, you do your time.
Well, but he did 18 years for fucking bank robbery, which is nonsense.
Well, but he did stab a guy in the shower, so that
self-defense.
Probably tacked some extra years on. Yeah, I mean, I get it.
He shivved some Aryans who were jumping him in the shower because he didn't want to join up with their fucking racist gang.
Mm-hmm.
And that drew him a cycle of fucking 18 years in the hole.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. It's pretty rough.
Back to the problematic thing, there is the whole like whiskey dick bit too.
Oh, yeah, we forgot it. We forgot to talk about that. Callum can't get it up anymore. So speaking of which, I guess this was probably in the early days of, I think Viagra existed back then, but
it did, yeah.
Callum, next time you get a conjugal visit, look into some Blue Chew or some other options out there. Maybe we can get some sponsors for the show,
Come on, Pfizer. Get off your ass.
Yeah, we've already discussed
We've
this.
already said that. I mean, we did a sponsored ad for you, even though you did not give us any money for it.
All right, so depth and breadth of lives ruined, though. It's high, right?
I think so, because it's dealing with a societal issue, And it's still hitting home, like, it's still like, this is what you have done to this prisoner, and to every other person who you put away, especially on like minor things.
To me, the one that it makes me think of is Witness. That was the episode about the Congo. Sucked that D-bag rape boy was going to be the last guy to lay pipe in McCallum County.
Right.
And it's a similar kind of depth and breadth of lives ruined, where you have a huge fallout that kind of doesn't happen on screen, But because of where we go in the episode, we're meant to stew in that fallout for those people off screen. And I think that's what this one's doing. Like, Stephen Rea is clearly not the only person suffering inside Sing Sing or any other prison in America. So that was an 8. I'm happy giving this an 8.
Yeah.
I'm happy ranking this episode pretty highly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it should be. Yeah. No, 8's fine. I was thinking maybe a point lower than that, only because there's no sexual violence involved. But fuck it, I think 8's fine because it's not. Yeah. It's not getting there on problematic.
No, exactly. So it's a 7.5, which most recently, speaking of Patricia Charbonneau, she seems to come up a lot these days. But the Mae Whitman,
we're a Patricia Charbonneau podcast.
Yeah, we basically are. The Mae Whitman, Patricia Charbonneau episode, Streetwise, which we call She Just Wanted to Get Sticky Fingered, was another 7.5. You know, this one I think is very memorable. I think this is one that I will think of. I don't know that it's one that we'll come back to very often because I haven't seen actors with the chops of Stephen Rea very often in SVUs, or at least
when they do have those chops, something goes awry horribly. Like with Brenda Blethyn.
Another thing about this is that there's no bad guy in this. The bad guy is kind of just the system that is unchangeable.
Well, I mean, I would say that for the first half, the bad guy is
the Parkster? Or Lily?
No, it's Stabler and Benson.
Yeah.
It's the unit. The unit are the bad guys.
Well, yeah.
And that seemed obvious on first watch. Like, oh no, they're fucking harassing this guy who they think is good for it and is not.
And it's pretty clear that he's not pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because there's no prints inside the apartment, just outside.
Man, so I watched this fucking episode and then I watched... So the block of 3 things that I watched was this. Then I watched the new Bo Burnham special on Netflix. He basically recorded it all by himself in his guest house through the pandemic over the last year. And it's very pandemic centered. So I watched that. Then I watched this episode, that, and then this episode again. So I had a really weird block of things that I watched. The pandemic's still very fresh.
Yeah,
it's not a wound that has healed, and that was not a fun.
Well, and sort of a similar vein. Well, I watched this first a couple days ago, but then I watched it again today, and I watched it today after I tried to go to this estate sale. We're trying to get a fucking new dresser because our dresser sucks. And Megan saw a dresser at, I don't know why she follows estate sales, but I went to this fucking estate sale. Fuck this estate sale, man. Anyways, I don't need to get into this, but fuck this bullshit. But while I was going there and then leaving and coming back, I was listening to a podcast that was, it's a TrueAnon podcast, which is usually kind of a ridiculous rundown on like leftist perspectives on conspiracy theories. But in this case, they interviewed this reporter who had done a piece about all the murders at Fort Bragg, which is where the Joint Special Operations Command is, and about how fucking crazed everything is, everything, and how many murders these people commit, and how there's no justice for these people because they all live off the books. And it's really fucking dark and really, really upsetting. And yeah, I watched this episode immediately after that, so I'm kind of in the same headspace.
Not a fun headspace to be in.
No, it's a dark fucking world, man.
I would say I highly recommend the Bo Burnham special, and I'm not like a Bo Burnham fan. I thought 8th Grade was really good, but like generally speaking, he's kind of, I feel like he's super talented, but I don't know that he's for me usually. This was really effective.
Well, yeah. Let's roll the next episode, Josh. And hopefully we will have more fun next week, even though this was fun, but upsetting.
Yeah, this was upsetting. Okay, so I am queuing up episode .lol, which is fueled by friend of the pod, Flat. The tape is spinning. Bill and Ted are saying they do not like this bit at all.
Oh, I hate that part.
And it has spit out Escape, Season 5, Episode 11, when a convicted pedophile, desperate to prove his innocence before his terminally ill mother dies, escapes from prison and kidnaps his accuser to force him to recant his story. Benson finds herself in the middle of a hostage situation, beginning to believe his story.
I think I remember this one. I think I've seen this one a bunch.
This one has Craig Bierko, Finola Flanagan,
Milo Ventimiglia,
Michael K. Williams.
Oh.
Nancy Allen and Stephen Lang. That's a lot of actors whose names I recognize right off the fucking bat. So it's already obviously a brain melter because we've got Michael K. Williams in here, who's been in an episode that we've already covered and is obviously also Omar from The Fucking Wire, which is in the shared universe. Yeah. So this should be fun.
This'll be something.
Yeah.
But I guess until then, guys, why don't you go ahead and munch our Bensons?
Yeah, munch the fuck out of our Bensons. And, follow us on the socials. We're at Munch My Benson at pretty much everything. We've got a Reddit. Or a subreddit, rather. And obviously, rate and review the pod, everybody.
Please.
Slap those 5 stars on us.
Absolutely. All right, guys. See you then.
No way.
You sure about that?
I know exactly what time it was. I get off at 1 a.m., so I was watching the clock. That girl was outside going at it with some guy.
Okay. With him?
Definitely not. He was Asian, like ugly cute, and much, much younger. Did I just solve the crime?
Well, maybe the girl that you saw just resembles Lily.
It was Lily. I've got the receipt somewhere.
You didn't say she came in here.
I didn't. I guess I was caught up in the fight, her being a murder victim.
She's not dead.
I knew it. Lily Milton came in 11:23 p.m., used Terminal 5 for 46 minutes. Our boss has us copy IDs in case some terrorist uses our computers.